In this video, for the very first time ever, I'm going to reveal the Baehr Total Training Platform for Martial Arts. This is actually a machine that I built over 10 years ago, and people ask me how I train at home, or they wonder how I'm able to train by myself. And this is something that I came up with a long time ago. I built it with my dad, and now for the first time, since I have filed the patent, I've put in the patent application for it, I'd like to start selling this device right away this summer to interested buyers. If there are investors out there that would like to invest in this project and help me get this product to market, I would appreciate that, of course, because my funds are limited. But this is the Martial Arts Total Training Platform. This is a prototype machine. The actual machine is going to be made out of metal, but I wanted people to be able to see what this is and how this works. So, like I said, this was built, I've got the, I have to look for it. Somewhere I've got the actual year where I constructed this machine. It's going to have a year on it somewhere. I just can't find it at the moment. I believe it was 2011. So, somewhere on it it's going to say, but I believe it was 2011 that I created this. But anyway, I wanted to create a machine that allowed me to kick focus pads, the kind of pads that you find where a partner holds the pad at a martial arts school and you kick the pad instead of a heavy bag or a wave master. I wanted to have something where I could actually hit to the target, or I could hit through the target and train the various techniques that you can't train properly on a heavy bag or a wave master. And I wanted something that was small enough that people could bring it into their home. So what the machine does is it simulates a person holding the focus pad. And ultimately, consumers can buy their own pads for the machine, and what you will get when you purchase the machine is the device itself and the adapters, the adapter arms, which you will connect the focus pads to. Of course, there's a possibility that I could get an agreement with one of the companies and also sell the pads with the machine, but either way, what I did was I constructed my own pads because I needed to make my own makeshift pads. I didn't want to destroy the store-bought ones. They're too expensive to ruin. So I made my own foam rubber pads, wrapped them in duct tape to approximate one of these pads. So you get the focus pads. And the arm, this is a crude implementation of the actual pad connector arm. Ultimately, the adapter would squeeze into the pad, and I would use some type of a locking clamp to squeeze it into place to secure the pad. But this is just a crude adaptation of what the actual finished thing would be. So, like I said, I've been sitting on this machine for the last 10 years and have never had the finances to really pursue it, or, creating a patent takes a long time and a lot of work to try to put this kind of thing together, and I never could tell if there was any kind of market or any kind of interest in a product like this, because all I would ever see is the Wave Master kicking pads in the store, and so I didn't know if there would be a market for this kind of a product or not. So this is, like I said, this is a freestanding device inside your home. So it's transportable. I mean, you could take the height adjustment column off and you can fit the base in in the trunk of a car. If you have like an SUV, let's say, you could fit it in the trunk of the car and take it with you. It could be used at martial arts schools. It can be used in your own home. But the idea behind this is now you have a kicking pad. So I've got this held in place just using screws at this point, nuts and bolts, because it's crude. But the ultimate version of this device would have a locking pin inside of it, like what you find on certain exercise machines, like the kind of locking pin that you can put in and pull out. But the idea is the pad connects, it slides into the arm, the connector arm here, and now from this position I can practice my kicks. So if I want to do roundhouse kick, if I want to practice back fist strikes or knife hand or hooking kick, anything that I want to practice from here, I can practice using the pad. And of course, I've created multiple pads for the machine. So the idea here is it was always supposed to have multiple pads with it, not just one pad. And again, this is, the nuts and bolts are crude, admittedly. But you can see here, you have multiple places where you can actually connect the pads in. So you can set the pads as you want them and basically adjust the spacing between the pads. So now I'm set up for doing a low-high roundhouse kick. So if I want something like this now, right, now I can train and do combination kicking, just like this. If I want to get rid of a pad, I can get rid of a pad very, very easily. I want to put the pad somewhere else, I can drop the pad down and put it down here at the bottom. Now I've got a setup for doing a sweeping kick. So I can come down and practice my low techniques and attacking the leg. So I've got a technique, or I've got a pad that lets me practice all those ground techniques that you can't practice on a Wave Master training machine. So there you see some of the flexibility, but it gets better. The pads don't just have to be oriented vertically. The pads can also be oriented horizontally or at different angles. So if I want to practice, for example, a front kick or something, I can place the pad at an angle into the machine. And now, from this position here, now I can practice, for example, front snap kick. And I get that 45-degree angle on the pad. Or I can make the pad completely horizontal. And then from here, I could practice, for example, a jumping high kick. And I know the pad has a little bit of sag to it here, but I can adjust the height. I can bring the height way, way up to whatever I want it to be. And I could practice now, I'm not even warmed up, but I could practice my high kicks at this point and kick above head level. In fact, if I bring the device all the way up to the top, you can see that I can really, really greatly increase the height. I can make this thing almost 8 feet high when it's brought all the way up. So you can see there's a locking pin at the back, once again, for the height adjustment column. So this allows me to lock it in at any height that I want in given increments. But it gets better. So in addition to placing pads in the machine, different angles, different heights, different numbers of pads, I can also adjust the rotator arm. You can see that there's locking pins on the rotator arm as well. I can take those pins out, and now I can actually rotate the device horizontally as well. So you look at this, I can lock it in place using the locking pins. And again, this is, like I said, it's a prototype, so the holes are a little bit finicky to try and get them lined up. But I can now place the pads into the machine this way. So if you look at this here, so here we've got one pad, here we've got a second pad, right here, and now I can adjust, once again, the height on the machine, so taking out the locking pin, now let's bring that down just a little bit here, that's a little too high for my liking. Bring that in. So now you can see some of the versatility and flexibility in the machine, that now I'm set up, I've got the pads spaced apart. Now I can attack and do techniques like hook and kick roundhouse or roundhouse hooking kick, right? Coming this way. So kicking multiple targets. So at every level, this machine has been built to be flexible for any kind of kicking needs. It's been designed, my background in particular is Taekwondo and Hapki-Do, so this device has been built for students that need to be able to do and practice a variety of different techniques. So if you take a look at this, what keeps it all in place is there is water-filled base on the bottom. I actually have water-filled weights. I purchased a few containers. Each container weighs about 50 or 60 pounds. I filled them with water. They could also be filled with sand, anything you like. Obviously, the containers are made and sold separately, so I purchased these to use with the machine simply to weigh it down. And you can see I've also placed a few free weights on the front. That's simply to keep the machine from walking away while I'm kicking it. So the weights, again, when you're buying the machine, the weights might be sold separately, or the weights might be something that you just purchase on your own and improvise and use whatever you like for weights, whether it's barbells, whether it's water-filled containers or sand-filled containers or whatever you like. But the idea is the machine goes from being very heavy to very light very quickly. So if you want to be able to transport this machine, you can see how quickly we take these pieces apart. And I just put this back like this, put the locking pin back in. Okay, so once again it's locked. So here we go. So this isn't going to move now, and you can see I've got it sitting on a mat just to protect the floor, but this is a very lightweight device. And you can see I can pick it up without much trouble. You can see how lightweight it is. Again, just making sure everything is on camera here, but this is what you would get. This is what you would be purchasing, and the adapter arms for the pads. So anyway, I hope that is clear. I hope you can see what this is and the potential here. And like I said, right now I can do a build to order model where if I know you want one, you make your payment, I will build it for you. Ultimately, I'd like to get them manufactured to get the costs down, obviously, and produce them in larger numbers. Like I said, the patent has been filed now officially, so that's why I'm revealing this to the public for the very first time. And like I said, if you're interested, contact me and I can get you set up. And if you're an investor, you know, I'm looking for investors as well. So, till next time, thanks.